It's time for a new video. Now that the front suspension's back under it, we're going to focus on getting the new steering box in place. And before I get that moved in place, I wanted to work on the steering column, which I've started. I didn't spend much time in this truck when I got it. I rode it around the driveway, so I was in the seat very little, but I didn't pay too much attention. I made a bracket where the old bracket goes. I just took the old one out and made a new one. And this is the upper half to my new steering column bracket. And it's perfect. It would have worked, but what I failed to notice when I was in here before, and I assume this is factory, the original steering column went right here where I have this one, but that puts it about 1.5 inches off center of the gauge. So the steering wheel, instead of being centered in here, it's actually over a little bit, and I don't like that. I didn't notice it, but I'm sure that's the way it is from the factory. So I'm going to try to locate it in the center of the gauge where it should be, and hopefully I'll have enough movement down there with 2 universal joints that it'll work. But I'm going to go ahead and move this to remake this, move this over, get it all tacked up and get it kind of in place and go from there, and hopefully I can get a steering column that's in the center of this rather than offset. So I think I have enough room between my arm and the door. I don't think that's the issue, but anyway, it's just something I overlooked, and we're going to start over. We're going to start this process over and see if we can get the steering column in today. Okay, I think I got it. This bracket here by my thumb, that's the one I made yesterday. So it ties into the original mount there. Bottom part is what I made today. So I put a little flange on there. That's just to round it over so it looks better when it goes under the dash. Originally, this would have been in the center of that column. That's how it was originally. Now you can see I've got a nut welded on that side. That slides over. Put this there. That slides over to about right there, and that moves it over to the left about 1.25 inches. So I'm going to assemble all this. It all tucks up under there. These holes here are original holes for the pedals on the outside. So I'm basically just utilizing stuff I've already had. I had to drill this out here, a hole here, so this nut will stick up through there, because I won't be able to access that, so I had to weld it to the bracket side. And that's a pinch nut, so it's a locking nut, so that'll help keep the bolt in once it's in there. But I'm going to assemble this, and I think it'll be okay for mock-up, and hopefully it all works out. Okay, so now I've got the steering wheel mocked up as far as I can go with it. I left some room around that so I can still move this up and down, left and right when I trim that. So now what I've got to focus on is getting the power steering box mounted. I can still move this back and forth some, so I'm good there. And so first thing I need to do, remember that bracket that we had. I've got it, which I'm going to have to make a new one. Basically, I have to remake this plate, but move all these holes down a little bit. To do that, since there's so many holes here, I ordered a center punch die set. So they're for different size holes, and then the punch centers it. So now I've got the right size to go down through there, so I can get all these holes marked accurately. So never had these before, so I bought those. I needed a new drill bit set, so I went ahead and spent a little bit more. These were reviewed good. They're still kind of middle of the road bits, so we'll see how they do. But anyway, we're gonna get started making this new bracket today, and hopefully with the power box in today. Okay, I've done the easy part. That's the bracket that came with it, and then I took a piece of metal that held my bumper on the original truck, which is 3/8. I made a template which fit my frame, and then I cut it out. So I got that cut out. Now the hard part, what I don't know is how this, because this was a different frame, obviously this fits a different frame, how the steering column was clocked in there. So I don't know exactly, so I've got to figure that out. So I bolted this in the truck, it fits fine. That's a level mark up and down, so I have a reference point. What I got to figure out is the angle where it's centered. It moves forward or backwards. I need to know the center point, because if I spin that, when I clock it, that will move the center point. And the reason that's important, because of the steering arm up front, it also has to go back and forth. So I need the same distance when this goes this way, that goes that way, and they kind of connect together. You can kind of see that. But I got to make sure I get that right or real close. If this has more turn in it than the wheel will allow, which is fine because I have a bump stop, that's fine. But the problem is if it's clocked wrong and it won't go all the way to this point, it would come up short, then it wouldn't turn all the way in that direction or vice versa. So I've got to make sure that I get it mounted right. So I can't just transfer these holes over and make a level at the bottom. I got to figure out exactly where they go. I got to get it pretty close. It doesn't have to probably be perfect, but it's got to be pretty close. So I've got to figure that out now. So that's going to take a little bit of time. So that's where I'm at right now. So like I said, I had this bolted in. It worked pretty good. So anyway, we'll figure that out, and then we can get the other holes drilled and hopefully get it mounted. Okay, I got the bracket made. I got all the holes drilled out. I used a 3/4 drill to do the recess, and that punch worked well to get all the holes lined up. I'm only putting 3 in it to mock it up. I did some measurements and moved the arm back and forth, so I think that I have it right, but I don't really know till I get it in there. Worst case scenario, I'll have to make this twice, because if it's off, I'll have a point of reference now to how much it goes. So I was working with one bracket that didn't fit in this bracket, so I had to just kind of guess and try to figure it out. I used some templates, and like I say, I figured some things out, so hopefully, I know it'll bolt in, but hopefully it'll be lined up right, and we can get it to work. Okay, I got it bolted in. It went well. I put the arm on, and the steering arm that goes on it, it's within tolerance, I believe. It looks good, and it already hooks up to the steering column. It does turn just fine, but it's not secure here yet. I don't have the mount, so it wobbles a little bit, and I may have to trim just a little bit off the D shaft right there. But it looks like it fits, and it's going to work, I think. So hopefully it's all good. It looks like these lines steer clear of the clutch thing here, but I got to work that next because there's a lever that goes back and forth here, and maybe get close to that. I don't know. I may have to modify it, but that's probably the next step, is to get the clutch working, because this all appears to work. I'll secure this tomorrow in here with the ball mount and make sure it's not in a bind, but it seems to be just fine. There's not too much angle there. I couldn't find, the reason I have 2 together, I couldn't find one with the right threads on here, the spine and the 1-inch D, so it was easier just to put a D shaft in between these 2 and just use 2 of them. But I tried to find one, but I couldn't find it, so that's why there's 2 of them. But anyway, I feel better that worked out better than I thought it was going to. So I'll pull the bracket back out and paint it, but like I say, next step is to make sure the clutch is going to work, so we'll start that tomorrow. After I finished up on the truck last night and went in the house, apparently I stepped on some hot metal on the floor, and they burnt. Sounded like I had tap shoes on. It burnt into my shoe. Guess they were that hot. So anyway, that one, I thought it was part of the shoe at first. It went completely in. I guess it's just a cut off bolt head. This one's fresh, so it's actually on there pretty tight. Anyway, I'll pry that off, and then I'm going to get to work on getting the clutch, making sure all that works. Okay, I got the steering wheel completely mocked up. It's not completely tight, but it's tight enough so it doesn't move. I got the floor plate in where it goes through, so that's bolted in. And over here, the U-joints, everything matches up good. I checked it, it turns just fine, so it looks like this part has been successful. So now we'll move on to the clutch here and see what we can figure out here, but the steering is all good, so I'm excited about that. I'm happy. I was worried I was going to have some problems when I found out that bracket was wrong, but it seems to be okay. I'm sure there'll be something else, but let's just keep moving forward. Okay, now I'm working on the new steering bracket. This came with the kit, but this won't work. I'll show you. This is kind of what came with it, but I'm going to try to simplify it. I had to make this kind of offset piece here. So I'll show you how that works in a minute. I'm going to show you on this bracket. This bracket came with it, and I'm guessing this is overseas welds. It was welded, and then you can kind of see they grinded it, maybe to smooth it on this side, and it's not a very good weld at all. But on this side, They're getting the right light. They welded it, but when they grinded it, they never even penetrated into the corner. So it's like wide open in there. I mean, you can see where it flushes. So this side's not welded at all, basically. So just be careful when you get stuff like this. Inspect things. And this is very cheap. I mean, I'm sure this is from China. But these are some really terrible welds. Some of the worst I've ever seen. But I'm going to be cutting this part off anyway, so it won't matter for me. But always inspect stuff like that. Make sure that it's okay. Okay, what have I got going on? Here's the bracket that came with my water pump, and I just cut the end off of it. I use this string here to determine the size of belt that I need to get. Go around the front, and basically what's going to happen, that's that plate I made. It bolts to the engine block. I need to get some bolts tomorrow. Those are too long, and those are the only ones I have. So it's got a third hole there. These two bolts in the front, and the engine, that's my engine mount on this particular one, so I couldn't use those two bolts, so I just had to make that bracket kind of go behind it, and I have 3 bolts in it. But basically, this will get welded onto that. It lines up pretty good, and then I'll make a brace on the top of it. But anyway, that's kind of the gist. It looks like it lines up pretty well, so I'll get some hardware tomorrow and I'll get this tacked on and we'll keep moving forward, but it looks like it's going to work out. Okay, so I'm ready to try to mock up the power steering unit. I use this string. If you look closely, there's like a black mark there and then a black mark there. That's what I use to go around the pulleys, pull them together to get a measurement. Turned out that's not a good method. This goes too deep into the pulley, so didn't really work good. I got what I thought I needed was a 40-inch belt or 39-inch belt. That turned out to be way too small, so I went back to the parts store. I got a 41, 42, and a 44. They didn't have a 33. I'll take back whichever one doesn't work unless I need a 43. In that case, I won't have the belt I need, but hopefully I'll have something I can get it mocked up with. So let's begin that process, and hopefully one of these 3 belts will work for that. Okay, so it looks like the 42.5-inch belt is going to be the one that's going to work to get it mocked up. So it's going to be a little tricky. I got it in there, and it's right in the middle of the range of the pump to go left or right to put tension on the belt, so I think it'll work good. But now I've got to figure out how to hold this by myself and get all this tacked up, so that's the next process, but it's going to work out hopefully. Okay, this is the 44-inch belt. This is the biggest one I got. I probably need a 43. That's the one size I don't have, but this does work with the mock-up. It fits within the range there. Like I say, I'll probably need the 43 when it's done, but I've got this tacked in. On the crank here pulley, I have 86 and a 7, so I'm trying to set this and the bracket up at the same to start with. And then in the pump, if I'm a little off, I can add washers on the inside to either push it forward or to twist a little bit, so I'll have a little flexibility with washers. I've got this tacked in. It's 86.6, so 86.7, that's close enough. Now what I've got to worry about is the in and out of it this way to keep it lined up this way. So I've got to work on that next, which is just simply pushing the bracket forward or backwards. But I have the up and down part set. So it seems like it's working out. I'm going to keep tacking things on, moving things around and getting stuff in there, and hopefully this works out. Okay, I got it tacked in. I think I'm within tolerance. I had to cut the bottom of this bracket loose. The bracket I had lined up with a pulley, but the pump doesn't set on there perfectly straight, so now I line it up with a pump so I have the same angle on the pump, and looking down even by eye, it's hard to see. It seems like it lines up. I think the only thing I may need to do I think it's probably within tolerance, but I'll probably just add one washer there and one washer on the other one just to slightly push it forward just a bit, and I think I'm probably okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave it tacked up. I'm going to make a brace from here to that corner to kind of fill this corner in to keep it from going back and forth. So I'm going to make a little template for that, get that tacked in, and then I'll pull it out and weld it, and hopefully it doesn't move. So okay, I got it welded up, came out pretty decent. So hopefully I tacked it and let it cool before I welded all the big joints. So hopefully it didn't move and twist. So anyway, I'm going to try to bolt it back in, put the pump on, and hopefully I'm within tolerance. Cross my fingers. Okay, it's all mounted up. That's a 44-inch belt, and I'm already maxed out, so I'm going to need probably a 43.5 or 43. I can change that later, no big deal. It looks like it's lined up. I got all the angles right. Everything looks good, so I would say it's okay, hopefully. So that pretty much mocks up the entire power steering. So I've got the pump in place, the steering box is in place, the U-joints work, the column is tacked in, kind of where it needs to go. It all works. So I think the steering is back. I need to make a few minor adjustments. I need to grind a little bit on that, just slightly on the back side, a little front, but little adjustments. But I guess the power steering conversion is done. The last thing I have to find and work out is this arm, the steering arm that goes from the pitman arm down. I have it. They don't make it anymore. I can't find it. I'm going to keep trying. They made it. They used to make them, so hopefully I can find an NOS one somewhere. So I'm going to keep looking. Otherwise, I should be able to, if I have to use the old one, I should be able to press these U-joints out. Not U-joints, but ball joints. I should be able to press them out if I have to and find the right size. But like I said, I'm going to keep looking for a few weeks, however long it takes, and see if I can't find one of these, because they made them not too long ago, but I'm sure someone will have one in stock if I keep looking. So, and they're about $100. So anyway, that's the last thing for the steering, but other than that, it looks good. So next thing tomorrow, what I'm going to move forward in is I'm going to go ahead and pull the brake. I have a brake kit too, which is also supposed to be a bolt-on kit. We'll see, since this wasn't, we'll see. But anyway, tomorrow we'll get started on the master brake kit. So I have dual brakes on the front, or dual cylinders on the front and back instead of one. So anyway, pretty successful day today. So we'll start again tomorrow. Okay, the last thing I did before I move on to the brakes, there's a clutch rod that goes from the pedal down through this. And you can see the hole got bigger and bigger on me. It was kind of tough to get it worked out. My column drop, I had to grind it a little bit to get it fixed. So with that big hole, I made a little cover plate that'll cover that, which is fine. I'll need that if I need to get it in and out of it. But anyway, I had to do that before I moved on. So now I'm ready to start the brake kit. So covered up everything here. Put some bolt loosener there on those, and I'm going to pull that off. And I've got the kit. Unfortunately, the kit, I'll show you, comes with a booster, master cylinder, some miscellaneous. I think this is a rod that goes to the master cylinder. Yeah, and the bleeding instructions, and this bracket for everything. What it doesn't come with, and I kind of knew this in the instructions, or when I bought it, there are no instructions at all. So hopefully I can figure it out. This is supposed to be a bolt-in kit, but so is the steering column. So if it is bolt-in, I should be able to figure it out. So I'm just going to start moving things off. And I mean, these brackets have a bunch of holes and things, so we'll see. Hopefully there's a plate here, some different rods and things here, so I don't know, we'll just play with it and see what happens. Okay, let's show you where we are on the dual brake conversion. I got the original, the master cylinder off. That's the plate. I've got that in place because I was looking at things. I had to get online last night because this kit was really confusing, and like I'd mentioned before, I knew it didn't come with instructions. That was something it says when you bought it. So it was really confusing because it had all this mechanism, which is like a cantilever kind of thing to go on it. To space it, you have all this extra stuff here, extra rods and boots and plates and all that. After I got online last night and did some research, they sell this kit. This kit will fit many, many cars and trucks. So they sell you, instead of making separate kits, they put everything in one kit to do everything. So all of these parts here, all of this, I don't need any of this for this application. This is all just extra parts. I think if you use all of this together in that, it looks like this fits a 1955 Ford Fairlane is what you need all this stuff for. But for the truck, I don't need it. So once I figured that out, it got pretty easy. I think since I don't need this bracket, the easiest thing I'm going to do is to cut off, I think I'm going to use this bracket, part of it, and cut it along this seam right here on this line on both sides. and weld these pieces to the piece that's on the truck, and that should center it. And then the only thing I have to do is get the length of the rod correct, which I've already taken some measurements on that. And then I guess it is a bolt up, weld up. But anyway, if you do get one of these kits, like you say, it's confusing because you get all this stuff that you don't need unless you have, like, say, 55 Ford Fairlane. Apparently these work in Mustangs as well. It's the same kit, but it would seem like they have separate kits, but I guess for the manufacturer it's easier to just have one kit and make it universal rather than have separate kits for things. So anyway, let's get to getting this bracket on and tacked up, and I think by the end of the day we can have the brake system on the truck. Okay, I was going to find it easier just to make my own brackets, so I pre-drilled them. Now I'm going to cut them out. That'll just work out better. The other brackets, they angled too much this way. I wanted to get the full weld across the old plate, so I'm just going to make my own. Just a little extra time, but it'll be fine. Okay, I got my two brackets made, so I just bolted those down. I took a measurement, and this is the plate that goes on the truck. So all I gotta do is center that, it'll center itself. Then I'll just have to weld those all together. I have enough room to get my bolts out, and I have clearance for these two bolts that go in. There are 4 bolts on the side. So that should be good. I'll get this welded up, and that should mount it. And then I just have to measure this rod and get that right. And hopefully it should be good at that point. Okay, it looks like this bracket's going to work out fine, I believe. Nice and centered in there. I got plenty of clearance. Looks good. It's nice and straight. You can reach everything good. It looks tight, but actually got plenty of room to get the bolts on. So now I've just got to make the rod on the inside the right length. And it looks like it needs to be pretty short, honestly. So I'm going to get ready to measure that, and I can work on that. Well, at least this part seems successful. So all of this bracket, everything worked out good there. I've got the rod in place. If I can get there. Okay, there you can see I've got my new rod on there. I shortened the rod that came with it and I put a sleeve around it. But I think I got it. I got plenty of adjustment on it, so it appears like this is okay too, but we'll have to do some tests. Okay, I'll have to get this mounted solid. Right now I just have a top bolt in it, a bolt there and a bolt there. To test the pedal to make sure it's really working, I'm going to have to bolt the thing all the way down tight to make sure it moves. When I push the pedal now, obviously this bottom will come out a little bit, so I think it's okay. Everything looks okay, but well, I'll get it bolted down and test it, but hopefully that's a successful dual brake conversion, so we'll find out here before too long.